Hello and welcome to another episode of Trackcast. I'm your host, Rich Hanson. Today we're going to talk about layouts again, but now we're going to focus on the mass bias of the bowling ball. We're going to define what the mass bias is and show you some examples of different strengths of mass bias through the core shape. But more importantly, when it comes to the layout, where we place that mass bias to achieve different reactions on the lane. All right, so how do we know the bowling ball we choose has a mass bias in it? Well, hopefully the technical information provides that to you and the strength of it. There's always going to be an image of the core shape. Here I have two examples. One is a core that has a very, very strong mass bias, or what we call intermediate differential. And what that does is it tells us the distribution of mass inside the bowling ball. So looking at the core on this axis versus this axis. And you can see that there's less core on this axis. One half of the core is cut off in comparison to this piece. So there's a great difference in mass distribution between those two axes. So this ball has a very, very high mass bias strength or intermediate differential. This core, you look at it, it's almost perfectly symmetrical. This is going to be a mild asymmetrical core, a mild mass bias. Looking at the core along this axis, pointing towards me, are sideways. You can see the two sides here have been cut off. So this ball has a very mild mass bias. This is one's about in the 5 range. So we have ranges that we can go as high as in the 20s to the low 30s, and we can have as low as we want in the 5s. Okay, now let's talk about that mass bias placement in our layout. The closer the mass bias is to your axis, the sooner the ball wants to lose axis rotation. Axis rotation allows the ball to continue changing direction as the ball rolls down the lane. When we lose that axis rotation, the ball wants to go more end over end. So if we wanted the ball to have an earlier reaction and control the back end more, we would want to move that mass bias closer to our axis. This is independent of your pin placement. Your pin placement is going to be one part of the ball reaction, the mass bias is the other. We're talking only about mass bias location. Okay, so closer to our axis, the ball wants to lose axis rotation sooner and get into more of a forward roll as it hits the back end of the lane. The opposite if I move the mass bias further from my axis. So as I get the mass bias, more like this Tactics Hybrid, it starts getting closer to my thumb, I'm making the ball maintain its axis rotation. When the ball maintains its axis rotation, it continues in that skid longer, and then it's going to see the back end of the lane sharper and have more of a violent move at the break point. Okay, so the strongest placement is right in your thumb hole. So if you put the mass bias in your thumb, you're going to make the biggest difference in the shape of the core, because I'm making a greater difference. This is where the mass bias rod would be. I am taking more mass out of this axis, making a greater difference in increasing the mass bias strength of the bowling ball. So making it more violent when it sees the break point or when it starts to change direction, that torque of losing the ball's axis rotation, okay? So closer to my axis, much like this Tactics is, you can see it's really close to my axis, the angle is very small, the ball is going to lose its axis rotation sooner. As I get further away, I'm promoting more length and a more stronger change of direction down lane. Like I said, the strongest point, the most violent change of direction is going to happen if you put it in your thumb. It's going to want to respond the quickest. Closer to my axis is smoother. So now take that mass bias information along with the pin information you learned earlier about pin to PAP and combine the two to find the right layout that you want to get and the right ball motion you want to get in the lane. And make sure you consult with your pro shop. Your pro shop is your expert. They know the most about layouts, the most about the bowling balls, what they're all designed to do. Take all that information together and get the right layout for you. All right, so there you have it, another episode of Trackcast. We focus on mass bias, what that does to your ball motion with the layouts. To stay up to date with the latest information from Trackcast, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get that notification that there's a new episode out there for you to watch. And as always, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.